Hello, everybody. This is Jennifer Schaus coming to you live from Washington, D.C., and thanks for joining us today in our Webinar Wednesday series. Every Wednesday, we host a complimentary webinar on government contracting topics. All of the webinars are recorded, and you can find those either on our website or our YouTube channel. In the interest of time, we do not take questions, so if you have questions about today's presentation, you can send us an email or give us a call on the phone number and contact information provided on the last slide. A little bit about us. We do provide professional services for federal contractors, including some of the services listed below: GSA Schedule, proposal writing, market analysis reports, and more. Brief background here about myself, but more importantly, let's move on to today's topic, which is project managing your GSA Schedule proposal. So before we get into that, I just want to give a quick overview of what a GSA Schedule is and what it is not. It's simply a contract vehicle or a marketing tool. It is absolutely not required to do business with the government. It is one of many, many ways that the government purchases from you. And so it's important to find out first if the schedule is the preferred method of procurement for your customer. So it's a 5-year contract with 3 5-year renewable periods. And if you exercise all of those options, in essence, it becomes a 20-year contract start to finish. There's about 18 to 20,000 vendors that hold GSA schedules, and more than half of them have 0 sales through their schedule. Why do we mention that? It's because GSA imposes a $25,000 per year sales quota on the schedule holders. The first year is actually a grace period, but if you don't meet that $25K, GSA will revoke or cancel your schedule. So before you go down the path, you want to make sure that you've got a full pipeline of customers that specifically purchase your products or services or software through the schedule. The primary focus of the schedule is that it's based on your lowest prices. Your prices then, once you're on the schedule, are a price ceiling. So as you start bidding for work through your schedule, you'll be coming in at rates lower than your GSA rate. So your margins will be smaller, and obviously you'll then want heavy volume, and again, that full pipeline of many, many customers that purchase from you through the schedule. And that can include state and local, as well as the quasi-government entities, the Red Cross, the World Bank, the IMF, the IFC, and others that have the capability to purchase through some and or all of the schedules. By having a schedule, it does show that you're credible, you're serious about government contracting, you've been more or less, we'll say, vetted by GSA, both financially and on your past performance. And it does give the customer, your customer, options on how to purchase from you. So should you decide to go down the path that this does make sense for your company and you're going to do it yourself, project managing the proposal is a wise step to take. So you probably want to break this out into a couple of weeks, anywhere between 7 to 10 weeks, based on if this is something one person in your company is doing single-handedly, or you've got multiple people that are contributing to the proposal. So your matrix should include who the responsible parties are, so who's completing what. You probably also want to have somebody that is just going to be reviewing the proposal from the outside, and that's going to be your quality control. So you want some fresh eyes that are looking at this, perhaps at different phases, and then maybe somebody even different to review your final package at the end. You want to have due dates for each and every one of the components that are required for the proposal, and then keep a strict timeline. Obviously, those will change with different occurrences that happen within your business, but you want to make sure that you do have dates when things are due, both internally, but then also keeping a note of some of the expiration dates that are part of the proposal. So as far as the what for your compliance matrix, you're going to have that broken into the administrative, the technical, and the pricing, which are parts of every proposal. The administrative piece will include your financial statements. That should be a layup. You should have that completed in a matter of just pulling up your financial statements. Those are going to be the last 2 full years. And then if you're in the current year, you probably want to have year-to-date submitted as well. A short note on if you have any current, past, present, or pending GSA schedules, and that's going to take all of 15 to 20 minutes to type that up. The readiness assessment is a GSA schedule or a GSA, we'll call it test or exam that you've got to complete it requires some market research. I'd give yourself an hour to 3 hours to complete that, hopefully without any distractions. Pathway to Success is another GSA, we'll say test or exam. Give yourself 30 minutes to an hour and 30 minutes to complete that. And both of those have asterisks next to them because those will only be valid for 12 months. So if you start the proposal, let's say today, but you get sidetracked and then next thing you know, it's 13 months later, you would then need to redo that readiness assessment and the pathway to success. Digital certificate is a token that you need to purchase. It's going to cost you about $200. And give yourself about 2 weeks there because initially it'll take about 30 minutes to an hour to complete the initial form. You'll need to get that notarized. You get things notarized at your local bank. Sometimes folks have somebody within their own building. So once you submit the paperwork to the company that completes the digital certificate authorization for you, they will then send you a link about a week later. You'll click on that, and eventually the digital certificate will be downloaded on that person's device, their computer. So start to finish there, it's, we'll say about a 2-week process simply because of the wait time. If you're using somebody outside the company to help you with the schedule, and that person either is going to be negotiating with GSA for you on pricing or submitting any documentation for you, including the actual proposal, you'll need to have the agent authorization form completed. Give yourself about 20-30 minutes to complete that. It's really just plugging in some information. That person will also need a digital certificate. And it is a best practice to have at least 2 full-time employees within the company that have a digital certificate. Okay, let's move on now to the technical section. This is part 2 of your proposal. The corporate narrative is going to be a 2-page maximum document. It's got about 5 to 6 questions that you'll need to answer. Give yourself 30 minutes to an hour and 30 minutes, maybe 2 hours for that. So the reason I say 2 hours is because you'll probably have someone take the first stab at doing a draft of that. Somebody else will probably come in and do a quality check on it, plug in some missing information, send it back to the originator of that document to kind of proofread and put the final touches on that. Quality control, same thing, have 30 minutes to about 2 hours. Same thing, it's about 2-page maximum with about 5 to 6 questions that you'll need to answer. And then we move on to the project experiences. You will either need 2 or 3, depending upon the schedule and the SIN number that you're pursuing, contracts that you've worked on within the last 2 years, down to the month that you're submitting that proposal. You'll also need a copy of the contract, and these 4-page narratives each. So it's either going to be 8 pages total or 12, depending upon, again, the schedule and the SIN number that you're working on. You probably want to give yourself about 2 to 3 hours for each of those write-ups. There's a series of questions. There is a lot of writing. And then you probably, again, want somebody to come in and do a quality control and proofread and plug in some missing information, and then send it back to the originator of the document to kind of put the final touches and kind of stamp that as completed. Again, that has the asterisk next to it because the contracts cannot have ended before 2 years, and that is down to the month that you're submitting the proposal to GSA. Open Ratings, this also has an asterisk, and I'll get into why in just a moment. Open Ratings is a privately held company. They will survey a minimum of 6 of your customers, maximum 20. 6 of those customers need to include the folks that you've got listed there in the project experience. You also need to submit your receipt. This survey is only good for 12 months. So again, you want to make sure that you keep track of when that's going to expire as well as when you're submitting your proposal to GSA. Give yourself about 2 to 3 weeks on that simply because when you start that process, you probably want to send out an email to each and every one of the recipients, giving them a heads up that they are going to be completing an anonymous survey from Open Ratings. That survey is probably going to take them anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes to complete. And then once Open Ratings has a minimum of 4 people that have submitted that, have completed that survey, then it'll be considered complete. So sometimes it takes about 2 weeks for the people to actually find the time to complete that survey. So again, that's going to have something that that's kind of a living, breathing document until you've got a minimum of 4 people that have completed it. However, you need 6 minimum on your list that it goes out to, but as long as 4 complete it, Open Ratings can consider that done. Be sure to also submit the receipt that's going to include all 6 of your recipients, and again, everybody from your project experience. Okay, then you get into the pricing section, which is going to be a description of your products or labor categories or your software. You'll then have your commercial price list or your market rates that your company uses for pricing. You'll have your justification, which is going to include your invoices or quote sheets to show that you have sold each and every one of these items in the past. You'll then put together a price proposal that's going to be a fairly complex spreadsheet, and that spreadsheet will have multiple columns providing GSA with something that is equal to or better than your most favored customer pricing, meaning your lowest price. And then you'll have, for product companies, a letter of supply if you are not the manufacturer. For companies providing services, for non-professional services, you'll have your Service Contract Act information. Software companies will submit your end user license agreement, your EULA. And then for companies that are doing fast tracking through GSA Schedule 70, you'll have your competitive analysis. However, it's probably a good practice just to have that analysis done so you know even if the schedule is going to be worth your while, simply because GSA will compare your rates to all the other companies that hold GSA schedules and are providing same or similar products or services. So before you go down the path of getting a schedule, make sure you know kind of where GSA is going to put you and what sort of ballpark, again, comparing apples to apples. So the pricing section is probably going to take the bulk of your time. So as far as your description of products, software, or LCATs, that should just be a simple brochure that you have internally. That should be fairly simple. Your price list, we find that sometimes companies actually don't have a price list. So you'll need to create either your commercial price list or your market rates. Give yourself a day or two maybe to go through that. And if you need a pricing analyst or expert to come in, we can certainly help you with that. Your justification, well, this will vary as far as timeline. If you've got 10 items that you need to justify or 10 pages of items or services that you need to justify. So this could be somebody that has 10 labor categories or 110 labor categories. So based on that, your time investments will vary. Your price proposal, again, you probably want a good day or two to go through that and using some of the GSA tools, the calc.gsa.gov website, and then also the GSA Advantage website for product companies. Then there are some other forms of documents that are uploaded separately. You obviously need to read the solicitation, which is obviously a very good practice to have in place, and then review specific SIN requirements. Sometimes these change with each of the refreshes that the schedules go through. So the compliance matrix, just putting that together, you probably want about a week to figure out who's going to be doing what and what all the moving parts are in your specific schedule and specific SIN number. That administrative section should take you really no more than 1 to 2 weeks. And again, it's going to vary based on how many people within the company are involved in this effort. The technical, a little bit longer, about 2 to 3 weeks, same as the pricing. And a lot of that is just based on the surveys that'll take about a week or two to come back. And then the pricing, just gathering a lot of that information and doing the analysis. You then want your quality control person to review everything. And if he or she is going to be uploading that, you probably want a full day or two uninterrupted to get each of the components of the proposal uploaded. It's not a simple uploading documents. There is a section for that, but a lot of this ends up being cutting and pasting answers, and it is a fairly time-intensive process, we'll say. So based on these timeframes, we estimate anywhere from 7 to 10 weeks. We have done, and we have seen companies get it done in about 4 weeks. Rush jobs are not always the most efficient, but it certainly can be done. So some conclusions, there's obviously many moving pieces to the proposal. You certainly have to manage your timelines because you've got a lot of documents that are either going to expire or be out of date. You want to make sure you've got the right refresh number for the proposal because as GSA makes changes to that, the refresh number will change. And that's where I've got the keep track of updates to the solicitation. So as GSA makes changes, you want to make sure that you're responding to the correct proposal. Otherwise, they will reject your proposal because it is pointing to an old solicitation. So you can certainly avoid being rejected by making sure that everything is current as well as competitive and that you've got a complete proposal. You certainly don't want to submit a proposal and then wait the 4 to 5, 6, 12 months for GSA to respond and reject you and then have to turn around and submit a whole new proposal. So make sure you follow the timeline and the guidelines, that you read the solicitation, you know all the requirements, and that you preferably exceed and not just meet the requirements. If you've got questions about GSA schedules or any other government contracting services, please contact us. Phone number, website, and email is listed here on your screen. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today, and hope that you'll join some of our future webinars.